Your party meets in a tavern, ready for action and excitement, adventure, and now what? Welcome to Quick Quest, where I give you pre-written adventures and encounters that you can use in your own games. This side quest was written for 4 level 1 characters, but can be easily tweaked for more members or higher levels with just a couple of basic changes. This is a great quest to introduce your party to the game for new DMs that are just trying to get your feet wet, or if you're just looking for a way to flesh out your world. Without further ado, let's get started. This quick quest begins in a market, but you can put that market in whatever city or town you want your players to start out in. It's really great to have in your back pocket right after they all meet in game for the first time, when they're going out to maybe look for work or buy supplies for the coming adventure. I had this set in what I call the Hooded Bazaar, a flea market of tents, stalls, and small storefronts, all beneath a massive tarp of patchwork cloths and leathers. As your players are going around searching for different goods or bartering with the shopkeepers, they'll hear someone from across the market shout, "Thief!" And glancing over, they'll see a mysterious figure come racing out from behind one of the stalls, carrying a small sack or satchel as they're dashing in between the different patrons. At this point, your players will have a choice. Do they go after the thief or let them get away? Because there are no guards in sight. If your players choose to do nothing, well, I guess that's it. Quest over. But if they do pursue, then let your players describe exactly how they want to get in on the action. The barbarian might want to use their athletics to try and just run down the thief, while a druid could have spells to help them trap or entangle. I would run this as a skills challenge. Basically, you let each player describe how they're going to tackle the problem, and then depending on how many times they succeed or fail, the thief will either get caught or escape. Because they're level 1, I would keep the DC at 12 for any skills that they attempt to do, and if they're casting spells that require a saving throw, I wouldn't give the thief any bonuses to their save, except for maybe a +1 in dexterity. Now, if they get 3 successes before they get 3 failures, then they've got their thief. They managed to catch them in some kind of secluded place, maybe just outside the market. But even if they fail, they accrued 3 failures before they get 3 successes, that doesn't mean this quest is over. The thief has escaped for now, but this is where your players can use their exploration skills to find them. Things like investigation, survival, and perception. A footprint in the dust here, an overturned box, or looks of bewildered commoners that saw them go by. They can use clues in their environment to still track down that thief to wherever they're hiding. Again, just outside the market in some kind of secluded place. And then they'll get another chance to capture them and move forward with the quest. Once cornered, your party will realize that the thief they've been after is really just a kid, a boy of no more than 14 or 15, who will introduce himself as Henry. He knows this looks really bad, but he will beg your players not to turn him over to the guards. He's stealing, but with good reason. He'll tell them that his little brother has been captured, and if he can't come up with enough gold pieces, he's never going to see him again. Of course, your players can ignore his pleas for help. This is kind of a good litmus test to see where on the spectrum your players lie. Do they want to do good things to do good, or do they just care about getting a job done and getting paid, hopefully, or a reward for what they're doing? But if they do listen to Henry, he can offer a little bit more about who exactly has captured his brother. Their name are the Bandits. Small-time criminals that mostly stick to petty theft and extortion from time to time. But they managed to capture Henry's little brother and are demanding that he bring them 100 gold pieces, or they're going to sell him off for hard labor somewhere far away. Or at least that's what they say. They've also told Henry that if he tells the guards and gets them involved anyway, they'll kill his little brother and he'll never see them again. Henry and his sibling are orphans. They don't have any family to turn to. And while Henry has collected 44 of the gold pieces needed, he's worried he's not going to be able to get enough in time to help solve his problem. At this point, your players could choose to still turn Henry in if they want to. Maybe he's lying, or maybe they just don't feel like taking this on. But if they want to help Henry get his little brother back, then you have a quest on your hands. Henry was told to meet the bandits at their hideout, an old abandoned storefront on the edge of town. He will gladly turn over the gold that he stole, and your players can either pocket it or try and return it to the shopkeepers that it came from. If they're going to try and pay off the bandits, they could always use it for that, and they might even try to sell some of their goods or find an odd job to get a little bit more coin in their pocket. I'll leave that side quest up to you, but either way, they're going to have to make their way to that lair to continue the quest. Once they get there, they'll find that the storefront doesn't look like much. It is supposedly abandoned after all. The windows are all boarded up and some of the shingles on the roof are missing. It seems like the only way in is the front door, and if they try it, they'll find that it's jammed. It takes a DC 15 athletics check to get that door open, or more properly, I should say, knock the chair off of the handle that's been propped up on the other side. If they don't try to get in through force and just knock instead, they'll be greeted by a gruff voice on the other side asking who's there. At this point, they might bring up Henry or his brother and say that they're here to make a deal or try to pay off the ransom. They can also just lie. Maybe they want to pretend to be a middleman looking to hire some muscle. Either way, they should be able to get in here using just their words. And I'd put the DC at 13 for a persuasion check or a deception check if they're going to try to talk or lie their way inside. Of course, your players don't have to barge in or try and talk their way through. There is another entrance into the hideout. If they do a little bit of snooping around, maybe with a successful DC 14 perception or investigation check, they'll find that behind the building, part of the wall has fallen away and the hole is being blocked by a box from the inside. If they want to be a little sneaky, they can make a stealth check against the bandit's passive perception. You can use the bandit stat block in the monster manual, which puts that at a score of 10. If they beat that 10, then they can get into a back room without being detected, and they'll find where the bandits live. There are dirty bedrolls, broken bottles, and leather packs. These bandits don't exactly live in luxury. That being said, if they do try to go this approach and they don't manage to succeed on that stealth check, then the bandits are going to be ready for them, and any chance at negotiation will be shot. But if they are successful, it does give them a chance to get the drop on the bandits without being seen first. If your players broke the front door down or were let inside, they'll find that most of the space in this old storeroom has been cleared out, with old boxes and crates pushed up along the walls. In the center, a table has been laid out where 3 bandits are playing cards and watching their arrival. Next to the door where they've just entered, there's another bandit that's either standing if they just let them in, or sitting if this is an unexpected arrival. All of the bandits wear different colored headbands across their foreheads, and toward the back, sitting up on one of those broken crates, is their leader, a burly half-orc man named Bandy. And sitting next to him is his pet boar, Stella. These are the banded bandits, and they're the ones your players are going to have to deal with if they want to get Henry's little brother back. The kid is tied up and being kept behind some boxes in the corner. If your players want to save him, they could just come in guns blazing. And if they snuck into that back room, they could come in through a back door and catch the bandits off guard. That being said, this doesn't have to come to combat. Things could be resolved peacefully. Bandy is surly, rude, and short-tempered, but that doesn't mean that he and his goons can't be reasoned with. Your players can persuade, lie, and intimidate their way to victory if they'd rather do that than get into a fight. For example, they might be able to persuade Bandy to just take a smaller cut than the 100 gold pieces they were originally looking for. That's a perfectly acceptable way to solve this. They could also try to intimidate them into just handing the kid over. If they can convince them that it's worth just giving them this kid rather than risking a fight that could mean death with some people that are way better armed than Henry is, that might be enough to convince them to let them go. Give your players a chance to use their skills and roll some dice to solve things peacefully if that's the route that they want to go down. But if your players don't think the bandits are worth working with, then it's time to roll initiative. Each of the bandits use the standard bandit stat block that you can find in the back of the monster manual, including Bandy, but his HP is bumped up from 11 to 16. This is probably going to be the first fight that your players will have in the whole campaign, and especially if they're new, you don't want to throw anything too difficult at them. But to mix it up a little bit, they will have Stella the boar fighting on the bandit side, and that stat block is also in the back of the monster manual. If your players are a little higher level or you have more than 4 players, you can always make Bandy a little bit tougher, maybe by giving them the thug stat block in the back of the monster manual, or maybe even a bandit captain, depending on how difficult you'd like it to be. But keep in mind that these are criminals, not hardened soldiers. If Bandy goes down or a few of them get taken out quickly, they're more likely to grab what they can and run away than stand and fight to the last man. All that said, whether they dealt with the banded bandits with their words or with swords, your players can free Henry's little brother and return to the thief to finish this quick quest. Henry will be overjoyed to see his little brother again and will thank the players for helping them out. If they didn't fork over the gold to get his little brother free, he'll offer to let them keep it, and it'll be your player's choice whether they try to return it to the storekeepers it came from, whether they pocket it for a little extra change, or maybe they'll want to give it to the orphans to give them a bit of a head start. They can also help out Henry and his brother in other ways too. They might try and find them a place to stay, or teach them to use a dagger to defend themselves. It's up to your players how altruistic they'd like to be. Henry can also reward the players in ways beyond just letting them keep the gold. Maybe he knows of certain sellers in that market that have exclusive items for sale for clientele that know the right phrase to say. Or perhaps he heard rumors of a caravan that got lost just outside the city, with tons of goods waiting to be picked off by anybody brave enough to go see what took it out. This could be a great way to lead into other quests, or to reward your players beyond just letting them know that they did a good deed by helping out these two brothers. And with that, your players can continue on their adventure, their first act of heroism completed. This is a simple side quest, but if you have newer players or the campaign is just starting out, it can be good to ease into things rather than throwing them right into the deep end. Especially if you're a newer DM, it can be good to start simple rather than getting too complicated too quickly. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you do end up running this in one of your own games, I'd love to hear about it. And if you have ways that you could improve this quest, or you think it could be even better, let me know in the comments. D&D is all about collaboration, so I'd love to hear your ideas. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing to the Bard's College. I make quick quests like this every few weeks, and I also do videos about DMing and D&D in general. So if you like what you saw, there is more to see. But for now, good luck, and remember, crit your players.